I get questions about doctor's offices, and if it's appropriate for the interpreter to stay in the office, go and interpret with the patient. Sometimes the doctor or nurse will leave, and often the doctor or nurse assistant, doctor's assistant, blah, 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 they leave and leave the interpreter alone. What do you do? I've been working for DHSH in Washington, D.C., and the contract has a big clause that says no unsupervised access to the client. DSHS policy, that you can't be alone with the patient and their family member, friend, whatever, sitting there alone with them. And it's been my habit for a long time, and you can criticize me if you want, but it's been my habit since, I do tend to leave the door open a little bit. Whenever I'm alone, I say, hang on 1 second, let me go to the door and crack it open. And the why I do that is because it allows the staff to see me as they walk back and forth. The nurses will pace back and forth down the hallway, and they can see me. Understand it's not perfect. I know that, but back before, I had already gone out and stood in the hall with my back to the patient and waited. And that's fine too. You can do that. That's no problem. But after I finished doing my job and the nurse doesn't want me to listen to private information because of HIPAA, and they don't want, if they're on call and talking and you're giving any information back and forth with another patient, hold on, you got to understand that I too am under HIPAA. I have to keep confidentiality, but it doesn't matter. Some nurses and staff will look at me and not be comfortable with the interpreter, standing in the hall. So sometimes I get tired of explaining it over and over, about the policies that we have as interpreters with my company, and that we follow HIPAA and confidentiality and blah, blah, blah. So my personal solution is to sit in the room and be happy to talk with the person. Be nice, formal conversation up until the staff comes back in the room. And understand that it depends on what your normal is, your professional judgment call. If you feel comfortable staying in the room chatting and talking, or if you feel nervous and not comfortable, that's up to you. It's perfectly fine to go outside and wait for the medical staff. It's your decision, your choice. Also, I want to add that so far this year, how many problems do you think I've had with a person in these type of situations? Getting off base, not being appropriate, taking advantage, or something going askew, something shocking, not appropriate. Never. Not one time. So far, understand that, it's how you talk to that person. If something were to pop up, hopefully you would have the door cracked or open, and you can leave and discuss with the nurse or the doctor. Recently, the patient wasn't appropriate. Also, what if they blame me for something and they look at me and maybe misunderstand and are not appropriate in their behavior? They would complain and file a complaint against me. So that's a risk that so far I've been willing to take. That risk so far, I've just followed my gut. And the feeling of being comfortable, fine, friendly, nice, and chit-chatting with the person. No problems. I want to add that sometimes maybe it seems like it's the right time to leave. Like if the person recently maybe got bad news, something negative like a diagnosis. For example, they were given the diagnosis of cancer or something. With the husband or wife, something like that, I respect it in the emergency room too. If inside I'm feeling like it's better for the two of them to have, time alone, I think it's better to leave. Don't sit and analyze when is the right time. No, just say, I'm going to leave. And they will appreciate that. You got to understand to be respectful of their private conversations. Better if we leave. Doesn't matter if we're good friends or we've known each other for a long time, many years, It's the right time to show respect and go ahead and block out the conversation so they can have it in private. And the interpreter, go ahead and leave until the doctor comes back. I know it's a complicated explanation to your question, but it's not black and white to me. Also, sometimes you do leave the door closed if you're feeling they'll be back for a very short amount of time. The nursing staff is going to go get paperwork and they'll be back to ask the doctor a question. They'll be gone for a minute and they'll be right back. Whatever it is. Sometimes I do tend to get lazy and leave the door closed for just a few minutes. Understand, it's if I know that patient very well, then it's fine. Like, if I've known them 15, 20 years, that's fine. I'm not going to worry, but still do show a habit of respecting the rules. I want to keep my certification. I want to keep my contract and follow my contract. Understand that the DHSH has that phrasing about not having private access to a client. I contacted the state office in Washington, the DHSH, about the contract interpreting. It was missing. The medical clause wasn't there. It wasn't there anymore. They've removed it. They did that, and they told me now it's not included in the contract. Ever since, it's a few years ago, the medical isn't there. So, But still, I want to follow that basic principle. My best answer, myself, I leave the door cracked. So they can look in on us when they're walking back and forth down the hallway. Okay, I hope that is an honest interpreter answer to your question. Good question. Understand, some interpreters are very strict and only come in and out with the staff. And that's fine. I respect that decision. My decision is I feel more comfortable here in my community to stay seated with the person and talk with them lightly. Talk about the weather, sports, what's up in the news, whatever. Just chit-chat up until they come back. And I want to add, if the person starts to talk about their medical situation or anything that seems like it's related, what I do is when the staff comes back in the room, I let them know. Oh, I sign at the same time while I'm saying this, so that way the deaf person can watch me and know what I'm talking about in sign language. I say, they were talking about problem with their leg. And I show, and they say, oh, what's up with your leg? So I kind of go in a roundabout way to deliver the message. And that's been my approach to make sure that I'm not the sole holder of any important information related to the medical situation, medical appointment. Try to follow that basic principle. And it's broad to all interpreting, not just medical, legal, business, school, any. If it happens, something shows up in the message that's related to the appointment. If they give me that information, I make sure to hold it and relay it so that way we're all included in our circle of information and our conversation. That way they know and they can follow up and ask questions and discuss. And they give me information and I give it to the other person, and that's how the discussion happens. Okay. That's all for now. Bless you, love you, bye. Of course, I'll see you in your comments and criticisms and feedback and la 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 la. Bye.